Hey, today we're going to talk about how to ship faster with developer self-service and why developer self-service is so important and such a trend at the moment. Now, to understand why this helps, we first have to understand why currently a lot of teams don't ship fast. We've identified four key reasons. Number one, dependencies on colleagues. You need a database, you need a new environment. There's anything really that deviates from the normal. Some pipelines have to be changed, any of that. Every time you are dependent on somebody else in the team to do something, some function, the platform team, a more senior colleague, that slows the team down and it slows yourself down. Waiting times, ticket ops, any of that. Now, the second is maintenance overhead. If you have 100 microservices and these 100 microservices have 100 different ways of doing configurations, then the individual configuration isn't super complex. But as a fleet, they become really, really hard to manage. And as the application lifecycle increase, the lifetime increases, these things get harder and harder. You'll run into problems rolling back. You'll run into problems understanding where changes were introduced. And if the colleagues left that actually wrote these configs, and maybe they're not optimally documented, well, then it's really difficult and it eats up a lot of your time. The third reason are ineffective and broken workflows. Now, 20 years ago, if you wanted to push something, was a simple FTP request. Today, the world is a lot more complex. We are working with systems that are globally distributed, lots of microservices, and on average, the developer navigates 11 different tools to get an application running. Now, all of that adds cognitive load. By cognitive load, I mean you actually want to focus on being the best TypeScript developer, but there are a lot of things that derail you. That could be the deployment setup, this could be things that you wait for, any of that. And cognitive load is a huge problem in the industry and keeps people from actually delivering what they're meant to deliver, and that's the business logic and the outcome for the business itself. Now, the thing that can mitigate these things is developer self-service, and that basically means simplifying, and it means simplifying, and that's very important, without restricting. A well-done self-service setup can eliminate dependencies because a platform team, for instance, scripts or gives you a standard and easy way to get the resources you need. You do a CLI command, and then a list of rules gets fired off and gives you a namespace in EKS, a database, DNS, and all of that with a single command. No more waiting times, makes things significantly easier. Number two is eliminate maintenance overhead by streamlining configurations. Don't have 100 different ways of creating configurations, but create configurations in a streamlined approach that makes them much easier to maintain. Same thing for infrastructure as code. The third thing is streamlined workflows. Maybe you don't need 11 different tools, but you can dump this down into a developer portal, make it much, much easier to consume. And the fourth thing, which is quintessential, is the reduction in cognitive load because of all of the aforementioned things. You can now focus on the business logic rather than the deployment setup itself. Now, if you look at whatever study, this drives remarkable results in terms of deployment frequency, lead time, a faster recovery from incidents, and lower change failure rate. Have a look at the Puppet report, the Google Accelerate State of DevOps. Humanitech has just published a study with 1,850 developers just on this. And you can see that the top quartile of high-performing teams, they all have a self-service setup that simplifies things to reach a true you build it, you run it. Now, a lot of teams use internal developer platforms to do that. Again, it's about simplifying the setup to reduce cognitive load. And rather than having everyone's fiddle around in unstructured YAML, they use three key tools: an IDE to code, Git to merge, and then an internal developer platform to run and operate these things. Well, to do things like, I need a new environment, and the automation will provide that. I'll need to apply changes to the configs. The IDP will make sure that this happens in a consistent way. What is really important is that you can never restrict developers in what they're doing. Nothing is worse than an abstraction that works in 90% of the time, but really restricts people in 10% of the time. So we're always opting and we're always recommending golden paths over golden pages. Leave the choice to developers to either follow a standard that comes with certain guarantees or actually script everything low level. Both should be possible in a well done self-service setup. Again, this is the reason why so many teams build internal developer platforms. And if that is something that you're interested in, check out humanitech.com, talk to us. We can help you get these things really, really quickly. Thank you.